Stretch out on your mat to start with. Oh, sometimes I always encourage my daughters to really have a good stretch in bed, almost like the animals do, which is called, there's actually a term for it in yoga as well. So kind of undulating the spine. So animals, they actually need that stretch in the morning. So perhaps we should do this more often as well. So really perhaps stretch out, maybe have a bit of a wiggle from side to side, maybe contracting all the muscles, and then let them soften down. Okay, begin to bend your knees. So bring both feet a little closer towards your bottom. So that always brings your pelvis into a neutral, more aligned position. Makes breathing easier as well. So, and using those breathing muscles, your secondary breathing muscles, almost your arms. So on the inhale, bring your arms up and over. So the breath actually travels deeper into the bottom of your lungs as you do so. Exhale, bring your arms back down towards the mat. So a few rounds here. Inhale, stretch your arms up. As you take deep, full and complete breaths. Exhale. Using almost your arms as a lever to push the air back out. Inhale, lengthen. Breathing in and out through your nose if that feels available. Exhale. And avoid going fast and more on autopilot. So really take that moment to tip into your body. So the body is the only place we have to live. So take good care of it. So deep breaths really help nourishing all the cells and tissues in your body. Good. Few rounds here. Inhale, lengthen. Stretching out. Exhaling. Lovely. 2 more rounds here. Inhale. And exhale. Last one here as you take deep breaths in. Soft arms. Exhaling. Bring your arms down alongside the body. So kind of just keep your arms there, noticing how the breath flows. Continue to breathe in through your nose and direct the breath all the way down into your lower abdomen. Exhaling, either out through a wide mouth or out through your nose. Feel that expansion, that rising of your belly as you inhale. Exhaling. Let it drop, let it soften, let it contract. 2 more breaths here. Inhaling. And exhaling. So last one. And exhaling. So notice how you feel, maybe physically, maybe those deep breaths, those kind of conscious deep breaths have made a bit of a difference already. So begin to walk your feet away from you. Walk them towards the right corner of your mat. So we are moving into that banana shape. Lift your upper body, your shoulders into the top right-hand corner. You can bring your arms, you can keep them soft over your head. As you breathe more into the left side of your body, if you want, cross your left foot over your right foot. So your head can maybe turn a little bit more towards the right, so you're more resting on your right ear on the right side. So a few breaths in and soft breaths out. So visualize, where do you need the breath to go? At any point, if the left foot feels heavy, in case you have it crossed over, kind of just let it drop back towards the earth. So we're creating that length in the spine. So the same full, deep, complete breaths. So stay for another 3 breaths on the first side. So perhaps notice how the body slightly adjusts itself. Maybe it just settles back. Maybe it rolls a little bit back into the center of your mat. One more breath. And then release your foot, release your arms, and walk them back towards the center of your mat. You cannot just hang out here, just let the body soften. And as you take 2 more breaths in and out of your body, notice the left side compared to the right side. So take this time to pause, to really drop into your body. So when you're ready, walk your feet to the left corner of your mat. So just where you feel a stretch without aggravating anything. Adjust your upper body. So you move your shoulders, your head, and point it more towards the top left-hand corner of your mat. So you can stay with both legs parallel. Maybe you want to bring your right foot over your left foot. So resist the temptation of holding specific muscles. So just find a bit of softness. And the only thing that's moving is literally your breath through in and out of your body. Your head may turn a little bit more towards the left, or you can keep the gaze turning up towards the ceiling. Let the breath really just be like a wave move into your waist, your ribcage, your armpit. And as you exhale, let it, in reverse order, leave the body. So 2 to 3 rounds of your breath as it creates a bit more room, a bit more space in the right side of your body. So 2 more breaths. And then release your foot in case it was over your left foot. Walk your feet back, walk your arms back, your upper body back. Kind of soften here. Let your feet roll out open, arms bend or shoulders released. Good. Maybe stretch once more out. Extend, contract all the muscles in your body. Kind of squeeze and then let them settle down. Bend both knees and bring them back or relatively close towards your bottom. Arms are still up over your head. So we're moving into bridge using the arms again, a bit as a lever to shift the pelvis up. So on the inhale, keep your arms exactly where they are. On the exhale, begin to lift your hips as you bring your arms forward. So your palms come back onto the floor as your hip reaches up. Inhale, lower arms come up and over your head. Exhale, push into your feet as your hips lift. So a couple of rounds here. Inhale. You create that space in your lungs, in your chest. Exhaling, shifting the bottom of your pelvis up. So a few rounds here. Keep perhaps an eye on your knees. So knees ideally remain parallel. Kind of softening or keeping a softness in those movements. At any point, you can stay perhaps a little bit longer here, keeping the arms overhead, breathing in and out of your body. And once you feel ready to come back in, on the exhale, shift the hips up and bring your palms down, creating a bit of a stretch for the neck and the shoulders. Do a few rounds here as you lift. For those with a bit more energy levels, you may decide actually to keep your hips lifted. If that's the case, really use your arms as a foundation, your feet. Maybe you want to bring your arms into robot arms. So you bend your elbows, your fingertips point up, and you have a bit more stability by using your upper arms as that foundation. So whatever feels okay for you, I'll give you options. Please do choose according to your energy levels. So wherever you are, take 2 more breaths. And then allow your hips to come back down towards the earth. Hug both knees in towards your chest. Holding onto your shins, to your knees. Allow the body to rock from side to side. So maybe you're moving left to right. Maybe you're moving in a more circular fashion. So whatever feels good. Maybe in between, you may want to lift your nose towards your knee, curl together like a little ball, really rounding the back, and coming back down. So begin to bring your left foot down as you hold onto your right knee with both hands perhaps. So just have a bit more of a slight squeeze as you lengthen through the lower back. In that moment, begin to circle your right foot, your right ankle. So you may want to flex, point, circle. Take it a little slower. So you may miss otherwise some areas in between that feel they need a bit more attention. So whatever you do slower actually feels a bit more mindful and a bit more, sometimes even intense. So begin to bring that circling of your ankle back to stillness. Bring that circulation into your hip. So warming up your hip. Maybe there's a bit of a click, maybe a bit of a creak. So gentle movement. So explore taking the knee a little bit further out towards the side or keep it in smaller circles. Good for those with space and they want to have a bit of a stronger practice. Maybe you let go of your arm and perhaps even extend your leg out. So you may feel the weight of your leg as you stretch it out, still circle and then bring it back in. So perhaps change directions. Again, you can always come back to those kind of more gentle, to the gentler version of the knee circle, hip circles. So then bring that movement of your knee back to center. Hold on to your shin, to your kneecap again, and engaging the abdominals and at the same time stretching through the back body. Begin to bring your nose towards your knee, curling up and then rolling down. So always on the exhale, come up. And the inhale, go down. So you may want to decide to stay for a few breaths. If that's the case, the breaths are less deep, a little bit more shallow. So you choose what's right for you. Perhaps take two more wherever you are, whether it's more of a holding posture or more of that going in and out of the posture. Good. And then bring your knee back down, bring your foot back down. Second side, bring your left knee in, let it hover here. So even just that hovering is a good way to stretch the glutes. Sometimes the glutes feel actually quite contracted, quite tense, causing a bit more havoc on the lower back. Circle through your left foot, or circle your left foot, or point, flex, any movement. So explore maybe different ways of going. And then bring that movement back to stillness as well. Move high up into your hip joint, hip circles then. So your left hand can purely take over the guidance of your left knee, your left leg. So your right hand can be on the floor on your right hip joint. So again, if there's space and you want to let go of your hand, letting your leg freely circle. So yeah, today will be free as a wind. Let your leg, let your joints be free as a wind. So it's a good way, perhaps even just to visualize. So freeing the joints helps to just to feel a bit more home in the body. Coming back to center, catching your knee, catching your shin. On the exhale, begin to lift your nose towards your knee. So if you feel less energetic, you can even just settle here, holding onto your knee without doing anything. So you can always stay for a little bit longer. If that's the case, notice if your neck actually starts to play up, then perhaps bring your chin a little closer towards your chest. Good. 2 more breaths wherever you are. Good. And then bring your foot down. Take your feet a little further, just a little bit closer, so that the ankles, the heels are less close towards your bottom. Arms out to the sides, feet to the outside edges of your mat, and begin to windscreen wipe your legs. So even having a slightly different way of using that posture. So notice how it feels having your feet actually a little bit further away. So maybe that brings the stretch more into the lower part of the back, more towards the hips. So if it feels uncomfortable, perhaps walk your feet a little closer in and do the same movement. So continue the same windscreen wiper movement. So your neck, your head can go perhaps in the opposite direction. So releasing any tension for the cervical spine, for the neck, shoulder area. Good, really coming back home into your body. So 1 more on each side. And then bring that moving back to stillness. Take a moment just to notice, just to settle, just to maybe feel what has changed perhaps compared to when we started. And then either bring your knees in, you rock up to seated position, or you roll over to one side and come back up. Oh, good. Keeping it more of a kind of stretchy, perhaps, lesson today. You can take your feet out wider, again, without really just focusing on a specific alignment. Allow just the body to circle through different sensations. Maybe it's your hamstrings, maybe the inner thighs, maybe it's just around your waist. So explore here. We all have different ways of connecting to the practice. So maybe there's a stretch for the lower back, for the inner thigh. Good. So just any movement is literally good. So maybe you lean back a little bit. The moment you even lean back, you naturally train your abdominals, because they try to catch you, otherwise you're rolling all the way onto your back. Good. And always space or a bit more softness is actually created for those side stretches. So then bring your body, your torso back to stillness. Turn it slightly to face one side, perhaps towards the left side. So you lean towards your right leg. So keep your upper body facing in a certain direction. So the moment you lean over towards the right, you may feel more of a sensation in the left waist, in your left hip perhaps. So here you have the option, maybe taking your left arm up and over if you do the same side. If you do the right side, please take the opposite arm. So a bit like that seesaw, going in and coming out of the posture. Good. So take it really in stages and steps to create a bit more length. And maybe at some point you want to stay for a few breaths. So notice if you're naturally folding forward. So keep that length in the side body. Perhaps breathe. Arm can be quite floppy. Lovely. The next time you bring that arm up, take it all the way behind you. So we're moving into a bit of a twist. And then coming back into that side stretch with your arm perhaps more moving. So you take that kind of notion as you then move into a bit of a twist as you look over to that side. So take perhaps one more on that first side. And actually stay for a couple of breaths longer in that twist. So remember to keep that length in your spine. Good. And then turning back to center. So a little bit of a wiggle, perhaps a couple of shoulder rolls. So any movement here. Good. So again, sense how is the first side compared to the second side. And then kind of turning your torso again, pointing it or more belly button area to the opposite side. Kind of just take it slowly because each side feels a little different. So without pushing, so let it naturally unfold, let it naturally soften and lengthen. So at any point you have the option to take that arm in. So notice as you take it even slower into the posture, how the weight of your arm actually makes a difference to the sensation of that stretch. So notice if you're changing slightly position of your torso, so it's more of a forward fold. So keep your chest quite open. So the moment you actually, as you adjust, you may feel the stretch actually moving into the second side. And whenever you feel ready, maybe you want to stay for a few breaths. So your hand can be in any position to support you. So breathing in, create more length, and breathing out. So whether you're doing it more dynamically or more statically, the next time you bring your arm up and over, move into a bit of a twist. You can take your opposite hand to the opposite leg and then seesawing back into that side stretch. Good. Lovely. 2 more breaths here. And before you come into the final posture, then stay in that posture for a little bit longer, i.e. stay in that twist for a little bit longer. So seeking that length and then twisting slightly from your lower ribs. Good. 2 more breaths. And then returning back to center. Again, a little bit of a wiggle. Any movement for your neck, for your shoulders. And actually stretching out the front, the back body. So take almost center stage here as you slowly walk your hands away from you, as you find that softness through your upper back. So let the neck, the head release. Breathing in through your nose. And perhaps out through a wide mouth. So letting go of any stale, stagnant energy. In through your nose. Exhale out through a wide mouth. Good. And begin to walk your hands back towards your feet. Good. Bring your feet a little closer together. So still dipping into the core. You can lean back. Show where my feet are here. So you can lean back and begin to lift and lower one leg. Maybe you dip the heel down. You can do one leg, then your opposite leg. So perhaps you keep it lifted, maybe drawing circles with one foot. At any point, change, perhaps pause. Good. Maybe kind of imagine your foot hops over an imaginary object. So you can make it yours, whether it's just maybe a lift, perhaps even hold, and then lower down. So abdominal strength is always a good one to include in the practice, hopefully in a light way. So if you hold the posture, notice if you hold your breath as well. Good. Kind of keep it balanced, that both feet kind of move equally. You can lift back and forward, sideways, up and down, drawing maybe even imagine you're painting a picture with your foot. So any distraction is literally welcome to take the tension of your abdominals. Good. Perhaps one more circle, one more movement on either foot. And then bring your feet down, bend both knees. Allow your knees to windscreen wipe once more from side to side. So here, even the option, you can have both feet more parallel. So they're both going at the same time, or your knees go parallel, or maybe one leg leads and then the other one follows. So which naturally creates a bit more of a stretch in your inner thighs, the groins. Good. So you may want to use the traction from those knees to come onto all fours. Take a blanket or a cushion for your knees. So we did a lot with the side body. So let's come back into those spinal movements. Cat and cows, take you take your feet a little wider apart so that you have space to go back. So on the exhale, round the spine, really push the floor away from your chin towards your chest. And then keep that spine exactly as it is as you shift your tailbone, you shift your bottom towards your heels. Inhale, you almost hover over your mat as you push back up into cow pose. Arch, kind of slight arch in your spine. Exhaling, round. Keep that back rounded as you take your bottom back. Right. Swim through, perhaps shoulders squeeze slightly together as you inhale. Exhale, round. And use actually the full length of your exhale as you shift the bottom back. So the moment you almost sit down, sit towards your heel, you initiate an inhale. Coming back up. So literally one set of breaths moving through those two postures. So that means then letting your breath guide you. And the slower you move, especially on the exhale, the longer perhaps the exhale can be incorporated as well. Take 2 more rounds here. So sometimes the exhale may actually get longer without you realizing, because you're coupling it with movement. Good. And from here, find your way back up to neutral tabletop position. So you, creating a bit more room in the shoulders. You can take your arm out to the side. Doesn't matter which one you start. You scoop it through, and instead of threading it through, bring your hand to the opposite shoulder and then bring it down. You may want to change sides. So you're literally just distributing the weight. So arm out, scoop it through and move or aim towards the opposite shoulder. Bring it down. So more of an upper body twist. You can still aim to maybe bring your fingertips maybe closer towards your spine, so you can make it your own. At the same time, it creates a bit more that strength in your wrist, in your arm. Lovely. One more on each side. Good. And then coming back to neutral tabletop. You may want to come onto your knees, perhaps circling through your wrists. or perhaps just any shaking out your hands. So sometimes it gets quite weight bearing. Good. I think most of you are on your knees. If it feels okay, have your knees perhaps a little bit, instead of closely together, taking a little bit further apart. Bring your arms out to the sides as you lengthen, reach up. And exhale, bring the backs of your palms together. Bring them out to the sides and lean forward, making yourself really small. So we are only traveling through here. Inhale, rise back up, arms out to the sides as you lengthen. Exhale, backs of your palms meet as you lean forward, shifting the bottom back. Making yourself really small. So a few rounds here, coming back up, turning your arms around so your palms face towards one another. Exhale, you're a bit like as if you open a curtain as you slowly fold forward. Inhale, you rise up. And exhale, you fold forward. You're twice more, coming back up. And then coming down towards the earth. Exhale, slowly folding forward. If it feels okay, not too compressing, you can always move your bottom up a little bit. Stay for 1 or 2 breaths, resting on your forehead. Releasing the shoulders down, stretching the back. And then find your way back up into that kneeling position. So again, always perhaps bring a blanket underneath your knees. So take your knees a little bit wider so there's more stability. Bring your hands onto your lower back and then squeeze those elbows towards one another so the chest naturally lifts up towards the ceiling. And then softening. Good. Rising back up. Kind of your hands are almost in those jeans pockets, lifting the chest. Exhale. Softening. Good. Twice more. So slight back bend. If you feel okay, maybe even see what it feels like to shift slightly back and then coming forward and then softening. Good. So last one here. Hands onto your lower back. Perhaps you just lift the chest without throwing the head back. So keep your gaze looking forward. Maybe gently sway back. So even here, your abdominals, your front thigh muscles try to catch you. And then softening. Come back down onto the earth. Tabletop. And you may want to lift up into downward dog position. So you can curl your toes under, downward dog, or if you feel you want to stay here, walk your hands a little bit further forward and bring your forehead down. So it's the same posture, just with less weight bearing on hands, on feet. So if you're in downward dog, perhaps have a little bit of a wiggle, stretch out your calves, maybe shake out your head. So if you're on the floor, you can almost pretend you walk your hands a little bit further forward, creating a deeper stretch between your fingertips and your tailbone. Lovely. So if you're in downward dog, please make your way down towards the earth, tabletop. If you're in downward, or if you're in a quarter of a downward dog, come back up into tabletop and lower all the way onto your front, onto your belly. So your forehead can soften on the earth. So your chin moves a little closer towards the your chest. Hands underneath your shoulders. Elbows connect with your rib cage. So we're lifting up into mini cobra. Inhale, lift as you seek that length in your spine. Exhale, lower. Good. Twice more. Inhale, lift. And exhale, lower. Last one here, inhale, lift, perhaps squeeze those elbows towards one another. Exhale, lower, have a bit of a wiggle. So from here, push into your hands and back into tabletop. Lovely, then bring your right foot forward. Again, you may want to maybe bring a blanket underneath your back knee, allowing your hips to circle. So you can take your foot, the right foot, out to the outer edge of your mat. So there's enough space for both hands to be on the inner edge of your mat. So just noticing, just releasing maybe some held tension in your hips. So you're moving into those hip circles, just very subtle movement. It's not too big of a movement on your bottom. So naturally, perhaps the left hip drops a little closer towards the earth. Good. So maybe shifting. Lovely. You may even want to walk both hands back as you stretch out through your right hamstring. So you can perhaps move between those two postures, maybe a little bit of a wiggle. Perhaps you extend your legs so the upper body naturally comes up a little bit more. So in case you have a block or a book, you can bring that block or the book underneath your hands, so you lift your you bring the floor up a little bit higher. So avoid or notice if you hold your breath well, maybe as you move through some intense sensations in the hips. So a couple of breaths. So you maybe want to move from more static, from more dynamic movement, maybe into more of a static hold. If that's the case, focus on your breath coming in and out through your nose. For those who want to add a little bit more, because of high energy levels, you may want to curl your back toes under, maybe lift the back knee off the floor. So it's slightly stronger position. So it's always an option to come into. So you literally rock forwards and backwards on the ball of your foot. Okay, and it's just an option. So very, on your own time, come back more into more static hold as you almost peel yourself off the floor. Bring both hands onto your right thigh. So we're up in a more kneeling position. So you lengthen, you straighten your torso. Bring your right arm up out in front of you. Make a big arm circle as you move into a twist. So your belly button points towards the right knee. So you can do a couple of circles here. So the moment you take your arm back, turn your torso to almost point over your right little thigh. Maybe you want to stay here more in that twist, see how it feels. So you can keep your arm back. Good, few movements here. Cleansing, helping to detox the body as we move into that twist. One more circle here. Even clears a bit of tension in the shoulder, and then slowly come back to center. Return your hands to the floor. Walk your right foot back into tabletop. Maybe a couple of tabletop circles, because the hip has been maybe in a strange position. You can shift back into child's pose. Lengthen any movement here. So explore, almost moving a bit like a worm, or free as the wind. Whatever picture works for you. So whenever you're ready, come back to neutral tabletop. Step your left foot forward as you set yourself up for the second side. So you may want to just rearrange that blanket for the second side. So allow yourself just to sense, how does the left hip respond? Move through those circles. So they could be small, they could be a bit bigger. Each side is different. Good. You may want to maybe transition into that hamstring stretch. So you shift the bottom back, your hands also follow you. And then walk your hands back towards the front foot. So even just that slight shift where you attempt to straighten the left leg. So it's about that repetition, which begins to soften those tissues. Perhaps see if your face feels quite tense. If that's the case, also perhaps wiggle your upper and your lower jaw, maybe stick your tongue out. As when the going gets tough, we clench our teeth, we hold that tension in our face. So at any point, for those who want to have a bit of a deeper stretch, you can lift your back knee off the floor, maybe even shifting back here, perhaps straightening the front leg. So just feel what is accessible, how the body wants to move. So I'll give you perhaps another maybe 10, 15 seconds to explore whether you're rocking forwards and backwards or you're more static. And then begin to prepare yourself to lift your upper body up so you come into that's the low lunge. So it may mean that your foot, you may have to rearrange your left foot so you feel that stability. The back foot can be straight, or you can curl the back toes under for stability. Good. Seek that length. And so your right hand can almost rest on your left hand, on your left thigh, with your left arm up, big arm circles, and slowly turn your torso almost as if you look over your left thigh. So notice perhaps how your gaze, how the position of your head may change the balance. So almost the less you move your head, you move your neck, even your eyes, the more stable you are. So maybe at some point you want to stay, perhaps hold for a few breaths before you continue mobilizing the shoulder, that arm. Good, 2 more circles. Wonderful. And then find your way slowly back to tabletop position. So shuffle that left foot back. Any movement through the hip, maybe a bit of a shift from side to side. Maybe some of you want to maybe come onto the front, have maybe more of a mini cobra. So feel into the body, whatever your body wants to do. Maybe some just stretch back out into into a child's pose. Lovely. So from here, find your way once more into a seated position, please. You can use the blanket if you have one for underneath your bottom as we bring the outer edges of our feet together. So instead of sitting cross-legged, we are finding kind of just that openness for the hips, for the ankles. So if it feels too heavy, perhaps take cushions or pillows to prop up your knees, your thighs. You may start with a little bit of a circle here, just to kind of acknowledge maybe how does the lower back feel, how does it generally feel to sit in that position. Good, so maybe there's more of a stretch on the left lower back, right lower back. So kind of explore moving forward. So see if your hippie bones, your hip bones, your sitting bones, sit bones and hip bones are the hippie bones. So see if they actually lift up. So perhaps keep them centered as you shift only your upper back, your upper body in circles. And eventually come into stillness. So your hands can be on the floor, on your knees, on your thighs, on your shins, on the floor, as you allow the upper body to release over that space. So tap back into those breaths from the very beginning. Breathing in through your nose and out through your nose. So if the mind is busy, maybe count your breaths, maybe breathing in to a count of 4 and breathing out to a count of perhaps 5 or 6. So we begin to lengthen the exhale. Lovely. Stay for another 5 breaths, please. And then once you completed your 5 breaths, bring yourself back up into a seated position and kind of just bring your knees back together. So helping your knees back up. So we are once more in that seated position. So for those who want to have a bit of a challenge as you come onto your back, you may want to can come off your blanket. You may want to use almost that boat pose to slowly release and activate through your core, or you may just want to come onto your lower back. So there's always that option to slowly release. So there's probably a point where you just, where it goes really quick. So wherever you are, so once you're on your back, hug your knees back in towards your chest. So a few breaths. Allowing yourself to move into that being mode, kind of coming out of the doing state. So bring your left foot down and extend your right leg up. So it may just hover here. So you may want to flex, point your right foot, once more releasing through the back of your right thigh. So if you can reach, perhaps hold on to the back of your right thigh. So it doesn't matter whether your knee is deeply bent. So the moment you just kind of push gently against your palms, you already feel that sensation, and you're working towards straightening that leg. For those who want a bit of a more intense practice, you may want to lift your upper body towards your thigh. Perhaps even hold it here for a few breaths. So use the position of your foot in a way that deepens the practice, or that just kind of keeps it already as it is. So make it your practice. You can already stay here, just you can even let go of your leg, just have it kind of facing up. So if you lift your upper body up, do it on the exhale. So you feel perhaps that back connecting a little deeper towards the earth. So take 1 or 2 more breaths, whether you're lifting or maybe you're just staying more static in any posture here. And then bring your right foot down. Second side. So have your left knee in. You may just want to extend your leg, flex point your left foot. So without doing anything, even just keeping it up here. It's also nice for the lymph to flow back towards the heart. So make it yours. You can hold onto the back of your left thigh. Just staying here, working towards straightening that leg. Or you can lift. And lower. So a few breaths. Again, maybe have a bit of a yawn. Releasing anything from your upper and your lower jaw. And then bring your foot down. So kind of just sensing. So you may just want to stay exactly as you are. If you want to keep your knees bent, let those knees drop towards one another, feet a little wider, so that releases any holding patterns from the body. Arms can be alongside the body, or you just want to stretch out, maybe even the feet wide, your arms wide, a bit like star pose. So you can always bring a blanket underneath your neck so the head is soft, supported. So eyes can be closed, or you can have a soft gaze. So sense all the different parts of your back body releasing into the earth. So feel the weight of the back of your head. Feel the backs of your shoulders, your upper arms, forearms, hands, fingers. So allow them and give them permission to relax. Feel the backs of your shoulders, your rib cage. Perhaps even your lower back. Sense them connecting and resting on the floor. Feel the weight of your pelvis, maybe the hip bones as well. Softening the backs of your legs, perhaps the backs of your knees, calves, heels, soles of your feet, your toes. Feel the whole connection of your back body. feeling held, feeling supported. And then bring awareness to your front body, starting at the tops of your toes. So sensing the tops of your feet, your ankles, your shins, your knees, front of your thighs, pelvis, lower abdomen, navel center, rib cage, lungs, heart, chest. Soften and release any holding from your upper and your lower jaw. Release your tongue. Soften skin in your face, your eyes, eyebrows, forehead. And return your attention and your awareness towards the top of your nose, towards the tops of your nostrils. To the air coming in and flowing out. Perhaps let the breath flow all the way up towards the base of towards the top of your head. And then as you exhale, wash that breath down towards the tops of your toes. Draw it up from the tops of your toes up towards the crown of your head. And then let it roll down, wash down towards the tops of your feet. Each inhale is nourishing as you draw it back up from the toes. Each exhale is cleansing, ridding the body of any toxins, anything that feels heavy, any stresses, any tension. Visualize breathing up and down your body. Might even visualize you drawing the breath up on the front body from the toes, washing across the thighs, the pelvis, your heart. And as you breathe out, it travels down toward from the base of your spine towards your tailbone, all the way down the back body to your heels. Drawing the breath along the front body, exhaling down along the back body. Full, complete breaths. And settle your breath at your heart center. So imagine you're breathing in and out of your heart center. Let your breath be free like the wind. Letting it move into all the cells, to all the tissues in your body, to any areas that need a little bit more of a nourishing breath. So in your own time, begin to invite deeper breaths back into your whole body. Maybe begin to wiggle your fingers, your toes, bring movement into your wrists, your ankles. Perhaps roll your head from side to side. Maybe even stay exactly as you are. So if you want to continue to rest, just stay exactly where you are. Maybe for those who want to move, perhaps bring your arms up overhead, stretching from fingertips to toes. Best stretch of the day. Good. And then slowly allow both knees back into your chest. You may want to just hug them, curl together like a little ball. Good. And whenever you're ready, allow yourself to roll onto one side. Staying for a breath or two, and then find your way back up into any seated position. But again, if you want to prefer to be on the floor, feel free to stay exactly as you are. There's no need to sit up, so you can stay where you are. So for those who want to close the practice, you can bring your arms up overhead, palms together, and then bring them back into your heart center. So bow your head towards your heart. Thank yourself for making time this morning. Be free as wind, not just the breath, but also movement. Namaste. Ah, lovely seeing you all.